Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and international best-selling author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 90 countries. So whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing, highlighting that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can join our Facebook group at Life Transformation Radio Community and never miss an episode by subscribing where you listen to podcasts. Life Transformation Radio can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Player FM, CastBox, Overcast, Google Podcasts, Pandora, and you can also subscribe to us on our YouTube channel at Life Transformation Radio. On the show, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, amazing human beings making an impact in the world around them. And my guests today have done exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that are bringing on the show during our live broadcast, go ahead and give us a call at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. And with that, please have a welcome to the show, my amazing guests for today, Mark Victor Hansen and Crystal Hansen. To the both of you, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
We're honored to be here. Thanks for having us, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Happy to be here.
I am incredibly grateful to have you both on the show. Crystal, pleasure to meet you. Mark, pleasure to meet you. I've been following your work for a long time now, and it's just an honor to be connected with you both.
Well, we're thankful, and we love doing it. And, because we wrote this book, Ask, The Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. Our destiny is to help everyone, Sean, get to their destiny as an entrepreneur. And we define entrepreneur as somebody who finds a problem, fixes it, scales it, and creates massive value to themselves and everyone else.
Love that. I love it so much. So the title of this episode is The Entrepreneur's Human Potential with Mark Victor Hansen and Crystal Hansen. Mark Victor Hansen is widely known as an American inspirational and motivational speaker, trainer, serial entrepreneur, and member of multiple board of directors. He is best known as the founder and co-creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, with more than 500 million books sold. In the area of human potential, no one is better known and more respected than Mark Victor Hansen. For more than 44 years, he has focused solely on helping people and organizations reshape their personal vision of what's possible. His powerful messages of possibility, opportunity, and action have helped create startling and powerful change in thousands of organizations and millions of individuals worldwide. You may know Mark as that Chicken Soup for the Soul guy. Mark and his business partner, Jack Canfield, created what Time magazine called the publishing phenomenon of the decade. With more than 500 million Chicken Soup for the Soul books sold around the world and over 100 licensed products in the marketplace, it is one of the most successful publishing franchises in the world. Crystal Dwyer Hansen is an inspirational speaker, researcher, corporate consultant, author, and entrepreneur. Her expertise is in the field of human potential. Through her years spent as a transformational life coach and wellness and nutrition expert, she has seen people who experience profound and lasting transformation in relationships, career, health, and wellness by tapping into their own inner resources. Having personally guided people from seemingly impossible states of depression, anxiety, and hopelessness to triumph, freedom, and happiness is what drives Crystal's conviction that all people have unlimited potential for greatness if they only understand how to access those resources. To learn more about them, the website is below. Go to markvictorhansen.com and go to crystalvisionlife.com. My first question, and the most important question I always ask my guests, and really the most important question you could ever ask yourself, is why. So, Mark, we'll start with you. Why do you do what you do?
That is such a nice macro question. It is, because I'm here to source and serve humanity. I believe every one of us is here for two reasons. If we're made in the image and likeness of the Creator, then we're here to create and contribute. And with our Ask book, we're asking everyone to wake up to their greater, grander, more terrific, opportunistic opportunities by learning how to ask efficiently and effectively.
I love that. Crystal, what is your why?
You know, what excites me is that I know everybody has more potential, more ability than they realize. In fact, most people have more talent and ability than we'll use in 4 lifetimes. But, you know, we have to be able to tap into that ability and get rid of the old baggage and the things that aren't serving us. And part of that process is learning how to ask the right questions.
You know, growing up in an entrepreneurial family, I saw my uncle, my mom, my aunt, my sister all move forward in these amazing businesses. And I'm sure you hear this a lot. I tried, failed, wanted to give up, then tried again, and things started kind of happening. And it wasn't until I asked better questions, and a friend of mine that you may know, John Vroman from the Front Row Foundation. So John Vroman told me, he's like, dude, you got to ask better questions. Like, when you ask better questions, you get better results. And I see it now when I ask better questions, even of myself, and even in the show, when I was like, what questions can I possibly ask a guest, especially when someone that has gone on podcast after podcast after podcast. I mean, I could pretty much listen to 10 podcasts and know a lot about a person. What could I possibly ask them that they're not being asked on other podcasts? And the number one question was your why. Everybody wants to go in the backstory. How did you get started? You know, what were you thinking? But it's like, what is your why? And if I ask myself that every day, like, hey, why am I doing this? Why does this matter? Do I want to start a podcast? Why do I need to start another podcast? Why do I need to create this other business? And I keep asking myself these why questions. I tend to get to the root of what I want to accomplish, and it seems to be greater than what I think it even could be.
Well, so we're in alignment with you, because if you don't get what you deserve, you get what you ask for. And we're saying, you're right. You got to ask the right question. In 1974, I lost everything and went bankrupt for $2 million because I said, oh my God, what if I go bankrupt? And I immediately checked a book out of the library, How to Go Bankrupt by Yourself, which was my best, worst experience. But when you're going through it, it's tragic. So what we're saying is, did you know there's just one common reason people don't get what they want in life, whether it's career, the money they want, the great love relationship they want, the life purpose. And the one thing, the reasons they don't get what they want is because they don't know how to ask to GET. They're afraid to ask. They're timid to ask. They don't know how to formulate the right questions. And they don't know where to ask and when to ask, what to ask, and whom to ask. And so we're saying, hey, wait a second. If you'll learn this stuff, it's the only thing that God gave us, two things, imagination and the ability to ask, then you better master asking. And that's what we're calling it. The people that we interviewed, the 26 people after we wrote everything we know, did a full university test at Harvard and Cambridge and Stanford and Yale and all that. We said, wow, the people that really cut the mustard all have the same basic stuff, but the ones that really get it and succeed like you have and your family has, have become master askers.
I love that. Master askers. Oh, man. I love that a lot. It wants me to ask better questions. Like, when you put it that way, when you put it in the framework, I'm like, now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, what questions could I ask? I got a friend of mine, again, named Tim Rode. Tim Rode's the founder of One Life Fully Lived. Shout out to Tim Rode. And he challenged me one time, and he goes, go deeper. Like, if you think that what you're going to accomplish is going to accomplish that, then go one level deeper, just one level, and see what else you can do with that. And you said before that entrepreneurs solve problems and then scale them. My problem in the beginning was I solved the problem, didn't know how to scale it. Or even if I should scale, like, what do you mean I got to scale it? What does that mean? I got to scale it. I just solved the problem. I got some money. I have a business. Well, when you're 20 years old, not so much. You have to scale. There's a lot of other parts, right? But listening to this, I got goosebumps right now because Tim, in his infinite wisdom, saw something that I wasn't doing, and over the last 5 years, I can just see the exponential value that has been created just by telling me you got to go deeper. The problem that you solve it could be anything, Firestone tires, or it could be something car related, or it could be a book for somebody. You teach somebody how to launch a podcast, but that's not the problem you solve. The problem is I got to get my message out, or I have a burning story inside me. How do I get it out? That's the problem that you solve. Not, I'll teach you how to write a book, but it's what's contained in the book that is the problem that you're solving. So go one layer deeper. And I've just stuck with that, and it's worked.
Right. I love that, Sean. And, to take that deeper journey, Mark and I determined that there are actually 3 channels through which you need to learn to ask. And those are ask yourself, ask others, and ask God. And each of those channels is equally important in this journey to discover your destiny, essentially. So if you want to get to the bottom line truth of every situation, if you have to ask your way to success in business negotiations. You have to learn the quickest way in making every relationship more fluid, more fun, and successful. The way you do that is by learning to ask through these 3 channels. And like I said, each one of them is equally important. And we can break that down a little bit more if you want to and talk about those areas: asking yourself, ask others, and ask God.
Yeah, let's do that real quick. So if I'm going to ask myself, when I think about asking myself, I think of immediately the why. If I'm going to ask others, and this has been a real huge, because being in the military for the last 20 years, we don't really ask for help. We'll figure it out, and we'll work our fingers to the bone trying to figure it out. But I've learned that being humble isn't just giving credit to somebody. It's actually asking someone for help. And that's been one of the big struggles that I've had too. Asking God, as a Christian, I'm thinking ask, seek, knock right off the bat.
There you go. Yeah. So let's start with the asking yourself part, because that's really that reflective journey, and it's such an important place to start. And so, when you want something to change, when you're stuck, when you're not getting everything you want in life, it's time to take that reflective journey and take that time with yourself where you ask the right questions. And Mark and I say, so what questions do you ask of yourself to make progress, to move forward? And it's really about the phases of questions that you're going to ask yourself, because you have to start with the first phase, the first critical phase, we call it, which is, where am I now? I mean, we often see that people are just kind of hurtling through life like a meteor through outer space, and not really stopping to figure things out, figure out if it's working, figure out if something needs to be adjusted, right? So you need to take that time with yourself. We have this morning meditation prayer time, and we ask these questions. Where am I now? And all of the sub questions that come out after that. Am I happy with the way things are going? Are they the way I want them to be? Could things be different? Am I on track? What am I passionate about? Or have I lost my passion? Am I serving anybody? I mean, all of these things that we can ask ourselves that will start to help us figure out where we are at this place in time, because you can't really move forward until you fully understand and get gut honest about where you are right now, whether it's in a career, relationship, even your health and fitness, right? Are you really taking care of yourself? Have you given up on yourself? Your physical health and well-being, all of those things. Second critical phase of that is that asking yourself part is, so it's where am I now? Second phase is, where do I want to be? So few people we find take the time to determine what they actually want. What is that ultimate end goal? Again, whether it's in your relationships, your career, your health and fitness. Do you even have a vision? Do you know what you really want? And have you sat down with yourself and defined that by asking the questions? What do I really want? And what Mark and I like to do is start from your ultimate vision of whatever it is you're working on, whether it's your ultimate vision of a relationship or ultimate vision of your career or work life. What does that look like in the most ultimate nth degree of great success? And imagine all of those qualities and then say, how did I get here? In the case of relationships, how do I treat my spouse? How does my spouse treat me? What's important to us? What are our highest values? And in that way, whether you're doing it for your relationships or your career, you start to engineer your life backwards from this perfect place, from exactly where you want to be. And it is such a powerful process, but it requires asking the right questions. And so few people do it. That's why we took the time to write this book, because it's a game changer. And then the final phase of that, so where am I now? Where do I want to be? And then the third phase is, what specific steps do I need to take to get there? Because once you start to ask these questions, you're going to get answers. You're going to get illuminations. You're going to start to see a new way or a new path, or you'll get a clue. Well, you need to act on that. You can't just sit there snuggled up with your blankie on the couch. You need to get out and put your asking journey into action by taking specific steps. So what are those specific steps that you're going to take to get what you want? So that's the ask yourself part, sort of. Just the beginning part of it. Yeah, there's so much more in the book and so many places to go with this.
And where can they get the book of currently?
It's on Amazon. Best place is Amazon. We released the book in the middle of COVID when all the bookstores had been shut down. So I just like to send people to Amazon. It's, you can get it in every form. You can get it in audiobook. You can get Kindle, or it's a beautiful hardbound book. And I'll tell you, the feedback we're getting is more than anything, it's so heartwarming, because we're really thankful that we moved forward with it right in the middle of COVID, because, a lot of people were pushing their books back to the fall, and we said, no, and our publisher agreed. This is a message people need right now. Never has there been a time where we need to sit down and ask the right questions to move forward in our lives. And we're just getting incredible feedback. People are saying, this has changed my life so dramatically. I wish I would have had it 20 years ago. And, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And everybody loves, it begins with the fable of Michaela, which is a parable, which is really, really fun. I mean, we're hearing incredible stories about the fable of Michaela. So it's been really great.
Awesome. Starting in, I think, April or May-ish, I told everybody, I was like, if you want to start a podcast, if you want to write a book, do it now. All eyeballs are online. A year ago, it was screen time bad. Get kids off the screen. Now we have virtual school. All eyes are on Netflix. It's on Zoom. I mean, Zoom crashed at one point because so many people were on there.
671 million.
Now is the time to do it.
And so you and I are on the same page. And by the way, I did write a book called You Have a Book in You that's also just come out. So just to answer that, because everyone needs to write their book.
Perfect.
I know you've got a couple out, but the best book hasn't been written yet because some of the people listening and thinking about it haven't written their book yet. And you're right. We're going to be in this cocoon for a little bit longer. So, and then we want to come out as high-flying butterflies, and you've got to rethink your life by thinking right, talking right, asking right, living right, and then, ask who is it that you need to meet and where is it I need to go? Like Crystal said, what are the action steps that you're going to take? And what we're saying to everybody, Sean, is that don't buy one book, buy two for Christmas and buddy up with somebody and go through every question in the book so you get this life transformation, because 30 million people are unemployed, unemployable, or not happy in their employment. And if they'll go through every question, they'll go through the transformational journey from the inside out by asking themselves, revealing their wisdom. And like I said at the beginning of the show, our destiny is to help you find your destiny, because if everyone fulfilled their destiny, think how happy the world could be.
Absolutely, 100%. And the mental health has oh my gosh, it's been exponential on both sides. A lot of people who were never diagnosed before are now. experiencing these things, and people who were diagnosed with mental health conditions it's been exacerbated. And so suicide rates, I heard the other day, were up over 100%. In Japan alone, more people have committed suicide than in any other year prior to this year in Japan. And I heard that the other day. I'm just like, man, it's bad. And it's opportunities like this where we can come on a program like this and just put out a lot of amazing vibes. I have a gratitude challenge that I told people to do. I'm like, every day for 66 days, count 3 blessings. 3 blessings every day that you are absolutely grateful for. Because gratitude has been scientifically linked to lowering your anxiety, stress, and depression. If you can just be grateful, just every day say, I'm grateful for this, and keep that in your mind that day, and something different every day for 66 days, you develop a gratitude habit, which will then begin to lower everything that you're experiencing. And yeah, I'm just so super high on this on the gratitude right now. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love the gratitude piece too, Sean. And I was just going to say, gratitude is so important, because if we don't learn to express gratitude and recognize the things around us that we have to be grateful for, it won't matter how many good things we get. It won't matter how much success we have. We will never be happy. And so gratitude is really a part of yourself that you really need to build this relationship with, because it's really just the acknowledgement of what good you have around you at any given moment. And once you can do that, even if you just feel like you have little, pockets of good and just the little things that you can be thankful for, then you're ready to attract bigger things. And that is how the law of attraction works. When things pour in, when you tune yourself and you become the magnet for good things by recognizing all of these great things, you are certainly going to keep attracting more of them.
So we have a
100%.
chapter, Grantor of Wishes, and once you're grateful, and there's so much, like Crystal said, when we were falling in love, we were sitting in a restaurant at Mother's in Costa Mesa, California, and a man of the cloth, 90 years old, sitting next to us, and he said, I see you guys are really in love, and would you like to know the one secret to staying happily married forever? And I said, yeah, I think I should ask that. So he said, I'm really great anniversaries, 70 years. And he said, I just got to tell you that you've got to pray out loud every day and ask each other, what is it that you want? So every morning we wake up, pray out loud, meditate, and decide, how do we sculpt our day? Sort of like when Michelangelo was asked, how do you make a David? He said, I sculpt out everything that's not David. Well, you got to sculpt out all the negativity out of your life. The way to do that is by being grateful. I'm totally grateful for every part of Crystal. And when I was asking, what do I want my ideal wife? I wrote 267 things that I had to have an ideal mate, values, virtues, characteristics. And that's the kind of stuff that we're teaching in this book that nobody teaches, because what most guys say is, I just want a hot babe. Well, that's great temporarily. Or the woman says, I want somebody that's a military guy like Sean, who's tall, dark, handsome, stronger than all, and brave and courageous, all of which is good. I'm not negating any of that. I'm thankful. Right. We help out wounded warriors a lot. But the fact of the matter is, you are way deep, and the more you get deep, the more you're thankful for, the more you get to be thankful for.
Yeah, I told my wife the other day, it was funny you wrote these things down. I was telling my wife the other day, going around for Thanksgiving, everybody's pretty grateful that day. I was like, what do you go around the table? What are you grateful for? And I just told my wife, I said, I'm really happy that we can pick on each other, and we have these little things that we do to each other to get under each other's skin, but kind of in a loving way, like we pick on each other. I can't imagine doing that with anybody else. I love our inside jokes. The greatest moment that I have with my wife is when we have an inside joke and nobody else understands. And it just makes us laugh. And it's like, oh, remember that one time? And it's those moments. It's literally those moments that bring us closer together.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's a different kind of intimacy. Mark was talking about kind of a spiritual intimacy that we have that's really special. And you guys have this other type of intimacy that you're talking about. And it is fun to share those little silly jokes that only the two of you would have any idea what you're talking about. but it's important. It's important to be thankful for it. So, yeah.
Any moment that we can bond, like that's kind of like that bonding moment, I never want to waste a moment. That's the thing. I never want to waste a moment. So, question for you, Crystal. The show is about transformation, and I believe that we all go through a lot of transformations. But for you, what is the one transformational moment that happened to you, and it changed you to put you on the path to what you're doing today?
Right. Oh, I have a really powerful one, actually. And I was quite young when it happened to me, but I was one of those kids who found high school to be really easy and kind of boring. And so I accelerated my curriculum and graduated at age 16 and then married my boyfriend, who was 5 years older. Not a great life plan, I'll tell you. So 2.5 years later, I found myself divorced with a baby on my hip in a new city, no family, no friends, and honestly, no idea how I was going to take care of myself. And I did the only thing I could think of, which was to go apply for food stamps. So that first day that I went to the grocery store and I was ready to exchange my food stamps for diapers and food, I had this incredible epiphany. And I was standing there and it was suddenly like a spotlight was on my head and this question dropped into my mind. And it was, how did I get here? Followed by a second question that was, are you doing everything you can to get out of the situation, or are you taking the easy way out? And the second my mind asked that question, I knew the answer. I knew I was not doing the best I could. I knew I hadn't tapped into my deepest resources, whatever those were. I didn't even know, but I just knew it. I just knew that I wasn't doing the best I could. And in that moment, I had this pivot inside where this all happened in like a nanosecond where time slows down. I don't know if you've ever had that, but as I'm turning those food stamps over to the cashier, I'm literally saying in my mind, this will not be my future. And I was saying it with so much conviction inside, I probably looked kind of fierce to the cashier because I knew that that was not going to be my future. But it took like that question coming to me, and then I had to answer it to myself. And so I went back to my little apartment where I was getting, eviction notices literally every month. And I said, I don't have any answers, but I have questions. I have questions. So I'm going to keep asking. So I just started asking, who would hire me tomorrow? What kind of work could I even do? And I remembered hearing, temporary service agencies on the radio, like Kelly Services. So I called them up, asked them how to apply. They told me to fill out this paperwork, and I put down my job experience. I had worked at a clothing store, the coolest clothing store in high school, and because I love clothes, and of course. And I had worked in my dad's law offices, and other things. Put all that down, and I started getting jobs. They would call you every day and say, this is coming up tomorrow or next week. Do you want it or not? You could say yes or no. So I started, filling in at attorneys' offices or working at convention centers, doing sales and all these different things, setting up booths at malls. And some of the jobs would last, a week, 2 weeks, whatever. And I started learning a lot about myself. And I realized that I liked business. I loved sales, especially, and that I love people. I love working with people. And I decided at that point to put myself through real estate school. In the meantime, a few people had come up to me and said, oh, you should do some modeling. So I thought, what do I have to lose? I walked into like the best modeling agency in our city. And I said, would you sign me? And fortunately they did. I was very lucky. And so I ended up doing some television commercials that went national. So all this happened around this time together. And in basically a little more than a year and a half from that moment where I was turning over those food stamps to the cashier, I was now a licensed realtor working for the top home builder in our valley. I became the #1 realtor at my company, and I was making these incredible residuals, like royalties from Screen Actors Guild, because once you book so much income, they make you join the guild. So I had these incredible benefits, like insurance benefits for my son and myself, and it was just an amazing transformation. And I was so thankful for it. And I would think back often like, wow, what if I had just given in, because it really would have been easy. When I say it now, it sounds like everything just went smoothly, but there were still a lot of tough times, a lot of, competition where in the real estate, just all the things you go through, tough times, taking care of my son and all those things. But it would have been easy to give in and go the other direction. But I'm so thankful that I asked those tough questions, and also that I think that I have the courage to answer them honestly. And I think that's what I'm challenging all the listeners to do, like, be willing to maybe parent yourself a little bit sometimes and ask yourself those tough questions and be willing to answer them honestly for your own benefit, on your own behalf. You need to be your best advocate to move forward. And so that questioning and answer process will pivot your life entirely. It did mine. And, Mark and I just know that people who are successful definitely become master askers. It's just what really works.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. I love that. And it really resonates with what's going on now, because I had a lady on the show that 5 years ago, she goes, I was literally crying in a bathroom stall because I got another no. I was a salesperson. I got another no. I just couldn't take it. And I had to make a decision. And it's these moments that it's either you give up or move on. Like you have to move somewhere. You can't just stay. You got to do something. You got to move somewhere. Or it's just you throw your hands up and walk away and just say, never mind. And I feel like there's a lot of unfinished business in people's lives that they've walked away from. Projects, businesses. I know our garage has a bunch of unfinished projects in there, but a lot of times people have unfinished projects. There's unfinished work, So, Mark, same question. What's a transformational moment that sticks out for you that really changed your life?
Well, I had been in graduate school with a brilliant guy named Buckminster Fuller, and he invented geodesic domes, all kinds of cool stuff, and I was trying to be him. And I built a big company in New York at 26 years old and bankrupted it because I was building out of plastic. I built the Wall Street Racket Club, Botanical Gardens, and I went bust because we had the oil embargo and you couldn't get PVC, polyvinyl chloride, plastic products. And I was 6 months after I checked a book at the library, How to Go Bankrupt by Yourself, because I said, like I said earlier, if you ask the wrong question, you go the wrong direction. Well, so for 6 months, I'm putting a sleeping bag in front of another guy's room, feeling distraught, disconsolate, depressed, and I want to kill myself. And all of a sudden the question came to me. Remember, you got to ask yourself. I said, what do I really want to do? And of the three questions, ask yourself, ask others, and ask God, I started by asking myself, what do I want to do? I said, I want to speak to people that care about things that matter, that would make a life transformative difference. So I went to my roommates. I was living in Hicksville, Long Island, New York. I had 3 roommates. I was asking others. And I said, guys, any of you know anybody young that's speaking, that's not a cotton top, not a lawyer, not a doctor, not a celebrity, not a Broadway star, a movie star? I said, yeah. This guy's teaching real estate to us out in Hauppauge, Long Island, New York. Here's my ticket. Take it and go see him. I got there, and for 3 hours, Chip Collins, who later became my best friend, mesmerized the audience. I went up to him at the end, and I asked, I said, Chip, I'll buy your lunch. Tell me how to do this. He said, kid, chance you making it as a speaker is 1 in 1,000. You're not going to make it. You sure you want to take me to lunch? I said, absolutely. And he said, stay out of real estate because I own the 5 boroughs. You can do life insurance. He told me what to do. He told me exactly what to ask, who to call on. I got 1,000 talks a year for the first 3 years. But when I'm out talking, they love my ability to tell stories. And they say, hey, kid, you got that story in a book. And the first book we did was called Stand Up, Speak Up, and Win. I tripled my income. In 1 year, I sold 20,000 copies. Little audiences, 6 people, 10 people.
Oh, wow.
And 4 talks a day. And I said, this isn't a New York Times bestseller, a national bestseller, or an international bestseller. It's my bestseller, and I want to sign to you, your wife, your kids, and your dog. And they all laughed, but I sold 20,000 copies at $10 each, went from $70,000 a year to over $200,000. I thought I'd died and go to heaven. I was heavenly. I said, no. So by asking, I just kept going, growing, and glowing.
Man, I love that. So it's funny you have that stat about, like 1 in 1,000 people. I started my speaking career as a drill instructor in Air Force basic training from 2009 to 2013. And what was funny about that is I was not the one to get up in front of a room and start speaking. I might have been a class clown in high school, but I was not the guy that wanted to get up and give a presentation or, whatever. But they said, again, in 2008, my business, I got bought out of my business because I was running. It was my own dating service. So we had an entertainment company called Fresh Entertainment, and we produced conferences, we produced weddings, we did wedding videos. We were the ones that were doing all of the speaker videos and then selling them to the speakers and double dipping and selling them back as marketing videos to the company. So we'd produce the conference, video everything, then have them pay us to create the marketing for the next conference. We kind of retained clients that way, and we grew fast, like 650K fast in like 3 years. And we just hustled this thing. But in 2008, when everything was going on, I was running up $200, $300, $400 bar tabs, pulling women out of bar, pulling women out of conferences, just doing whatever I wanted to do, living a rock star lifestyle because of all the attention we were getting, which then I got bought out of my business, broke, like I had to pay off all kinds of debt and everything else. The military was like, what kind of life are you living out of the military? So they wanted to kick me out. I was like, screw it. I'm just going to end my life. I was at that moment in 2008. Got a bunch of counseling, got a bunch of other stuff done, and had to work on myself. And that was the first book I ever read. I had never read a chicken soup book. I'd heard about For the Teenage Soul. My mom tried to give that to me one time. I'm like, get out of here. I'm not reading this. The first book I ever read was Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. The first personal development book I've ever read. From that moment on, I was like, Mom, just give me the damn book. So I got into the chicken soup books. I read those, and I was like, this is amazing. And then I started getting into John Maxwell, started getting into all these other people, and I became a voracious reader. And from 2009 to 2013, I was in it. I was loving it. I became, I was speaking at high schools to other flights that were going through basic training. And then I won Instructor of the Year in 2010, and my life drastically changed. The moment that I saw the positivity and everything, the moment that I believed in myself and did something bigger than myself, because I was like, oh, I'm the face of the company, and I'm the ego. It just completely drowned out everything we were doing. So I went on to build three up. Sorry, say it.
Ladies and gentlemen listening, listen to what he just said. I read Norman Vincent Peale. Now, he was my minister in New York, and Dr. Peale and Ms. Peale were great friends of ours, and he created Horatio Alger Awards, and we're lifetime members. Mm-hmm. Me came from rags to riches and have been excessively philanthropic, helping at-risk kids get to go to college. But ladies and gentlemen, the subtext of what Sean just told you is what's so critical to him, Crystal, and myself. We read our way out of the problem by asking, because you read the book, your imagination wakes up, and God gave us two great powers. One is the power of imagination. The second one, which is underused, which is why we wrote this book, is you've got to learn to ask the critical questions. Because he said, look, I thought I was a hotshot. I didn't use my potential. Then all of a sudden I'm called on to, I'm going to kill myself if I don't. And so I start reading Norman Vincent Peale and then my books, the Chicken Soup books, and it transformed his being from nowhere to being Instructor of the Year. And every one of us has a destiny that is glorious, a record-breaking, history-making destiny. And the only way to get to it, as far as we're concerned, and you'd say, you're pushing pretty hard for a guy who sold 500 million books. Well, I'm going to sell 1 billion books, but that's not your issue. My issue is I've got a book here that's going to transform you, and I don't want you to buy one. For Christmas now, I want you to buy two. One for yourself and one that you want to help the most, whether it's your spouse or your kid or your teenager or staff member or somebody, and go through every question in the book. Because a couple of days ago, Crystal and I got 121 letters from people who read the book and said their lives are totally changed. I'm going to let her talk to that. But it's exactly that, because you read the book, it transforms you at a cellular, mental, physical, financial, and social level that is just unspeakably good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what's great about buying a lot of the books is right on Amazon, you can order certain ones, and it'll ask you, do you want to gift them? So if you buy the Kindle versions or the paperback versions, you can actually gift those out to people and send those to people as gifts. So everybody go to Amazon and get the book, and then you can actually plug it in. When we launch books for our clients, we tell them, tell your followers to buy 5 copies each, one for themselves, and gift the other 4. And that's like a huge, huge thing that we do that's the great way to I want to gift you this book. Whether they read it or not, just gift it to them. It'll sit on their shelf for a while. Somebody else will grab it. And I've had that happen before. Someone comes to my house. I'm like, oh, man, I forgot to read that book. I got this stack of books. And I'm like, yeah, just take that home with you. And they go, dude, you got to read this book. It's amazing. I'm like, all right, add it to the stack. I got this big stack of books I got to read. So long car drives and things, got to read the books. But yeah, buy multiple copies. So as I sit here now and I look at everything that's happened, I just think it had to happen that way. The growth, the visibility of my own lacking in areas, and I had to learn them. And then you go to the next stage and you hit a plateau. You're like, oh, come on. And then you read something else, you do something else, you get coached by somebody else. But again, like you guys said, you're asking questions along the way. And it wasn't until about 2016 where they said, dude, you got to ask better questions, because when you ask better questions, you get better answers. And I noticed that with my kids too. If I ask a certain question, I don't get the answer I'm looking for. But if I ask a better question, then I get them to think more, and then I get a better answer. So I love that. Oh yeah, I got to get your book. Love the questions.
That is so important. I love that point. And the thing of it is, life is going to keep happening. It's a journey. I mean, we're going to go through great times. We're going to go through times that really suck. I mean, let's be honest. And they're difficult. We get through them. And that's just life. But what Mark and I wanted to do with this book is give people a real tool, real tools that you can use when you're in those situations. You turn to the tools, and immediately you get relief. When you start asking the right questions in the right way, you get relief. You're going to feel differently. You're going to start to get the answers you need. And we all need that. We need these tools in life because life happens, it just, and we want to show up and be our best. I mean, we want to become the greatest expression for which we were created, right? I mean, and who knows what that is until you really start taking this asking journey, because we are very serious. It's when we say it's the bridge from your dreams to your destiny. When you start asking these questions, question by question, answer by answer, you will start to see those dreams in your heart unleashed, and you will start to feel yourself crossing that beautiful bridge to your destiny. I mean, it's an amazing process. I'd love to go through the ask others part, because I think it's an important one to cover, Sean, because people are so scared to ask. They're afraid to ask other people. And in the book, we talk about that very thing. It's called we have the 7 roadblocks to asking. And what Mark and I discovered is that each and every person, each one of us has at least one of these roadblocks, if not more, that keeps us from asking for what we want in life. And I can go through those real quick if you want.
Yeah, sure.
So first one is unworthiness, just conditioning from our childhood that tells us we don't deserve better. Naivete is just we're unaware of what's possible because we all grew up with limited possibilities in one way or another. We only knew what we knew. We know what we know, but what don't we know? So that's the piece, that naivete, about, rekindling that curiosity we were born with and starting to open up to that and ask those questions like, what is this? Is it meaningful? What could it mean? What am I missing here that could be so amazing, so fantastic for my life? What opportunity am I missing? What person am I walking by every day that could be my next best partner, my next best friend, my confidant, whatever it is, so that's the naivete part. The third one is doubt. It's just, we're not sure how to ask. It's sort of like that gray zone that we think, oh, whatever I ask for, it's not going to come true. It's like living in that dull gray zone all the time. Excuses is another one where, those people who have just that sort of stubborn pride, like, no, I don't need to ask for help. I'll figure it out myself. I don't need anything. And so they live, like an island, Lone Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
Don't need anyone. And, it's a sad place to be because deep down, they're really hurting. they're not getting what they want. They're not achieving. They're not fulfilling and expressing all that they could, all they're meant to be. The next one is fear, and that is just kind of that terror that so many people have of rejection. They don't want to ask anyone anything because they might get rejected. And, it kind of comes down to, as a transformational life coach, I really think that comes down to our need as human beings to be loved. And we think that somehow if we're rejected from something, that we're losing love, or approval. And it's really difficult for some people. So it's something we really have to overcome. And the next one is pattern paralysis. We've all been at that place where, you're doing, or someone right now who's been doing this, who did the same thing last week, last month, and last year, and they're going to continue to do the same thing next week, next month, and next year, and it's not going to work. And they're just stuck in this pattern. And you go, why don't you question what you're doing? Why don't you sit down and go, is this working? Why is this not working? What do I need to do better or differently? How do I need to look at this differently to start making it work, whether it's relationships, health, whatever, your career. And then the final one is disconnection. And for me, that is one of the saddest ones of all, because that's really where that apathetic, hopeless state, where we start to become disconnected from the very dreams in our own hearts. And that's sad. And I worry that that's where a lot of people are right now, that we're seeing so much of this. And that's why it's so important right now that everybody get a copy of this book, go through the roadblocks, identify, which ones are plaguing you, and follow the book, follow the pathway through the book, and you will start to see those things change dramatically.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think that you nailed something very, very big, that rejection. So many people I talk to, and it stems from maybe their childhood, maybe their mom or dad left, or maybe they just weren't, they weren't tucked in at night. They were just kind of, hey, go to bed. They were kind of used to that rejection, but at some point in their adult life, they said, okay, enough with this. I don't want to do this. And that fear of that rejection goes right back into their childhood. And I noticed that a lot of my own faults laid in my childhood. I grew up in an alcohol-dominated domestic violence household. Cops were called to our house almost every weekend. I was abused. My older sister was abused. I watched my mom get hit, punched in the face. That was my childhood.
Wow.
And a lot of the problems, because, guys aren't supposed to cry, right, Mark? I mean, guys are tough. We don't cry. We don't have problems. The ladies have problems. We don't have problems. That's what I was taught. That's what I was taught. Suck it up, buttercup. That's what I was taught. Rub some dirt on it. You're fine. Don't cry. But all of that shoving and pushing and shoving that pushed all those feelings downward just bubbled over when I drank. And so I just choose to live a sober life now. And I had to get help for myself, because I wasn't helping anybody else, especially if you get married and you got kids, and then you're like, oh man, what if I fall back into that? What if I become an abuser? What if I can't stop the generational curse? And there's a lot of work that had to get done, but it all stemmed from that rejection point where my mom and dad divorced. I felt rejected. Every man that came into my mom's life, I felt rejected. So a lot of what happened to me, I mean, I felt it as soon as you started talking about it. Jesus, that's me. Like that, like you're describing me.
Right.
So, and I know I'm not the only one. I know people listening right now are like, yep, I feel it too. Yeah.
Right.
Crystal, what is your message for the world? As we start to close the show, what do you want the listeners to know and understand?
I really want everyone to know that while it seems like your life is created somewhere outside of you, like it's just happening out there somewhere, and it's coming at you every day, and you're ducking and dodging and trying to keep all the balls up in the air, that is not the truth. That is the illusion. The truth is your life is created from the inside out. Your life is created in your own heart and mind. Your life experience, what you will experience as your life, is created inside your own mind and heart. And so if you can really embrace that thought and that idea and take this time with yourself, get the book, read it carefully, and start spending 10 to 15 minutes with yourself in the morning, or in the evening, whenever you can have the time.
Sure.
We like mornings, but really
schedule it.
Schedule the time. That's the important.
Schedule it.
This is the most important time you will spend in your day and in your life. I promise you, this is the time where you create your life. Or if you don't do this deliberately, you just allow your life to randomly come at you and be created for you. And it's really that clear of a difference. So get the book and stay in touch with us. I mean, we want to know your journey. I love hearing people's stories. Connect with us on social media. And if you get the book at Amazon.com, make sure you go to Ask the Book Club, because we're going to do askthebookclub.com, and we're going to have a book club discussion. We'll send you an invitation to the book club discussion. And we just want to keep this going for people so that people feel like, you know what, there's this new path for me. There is this new journey. I'm going to become a master asker.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Mark, same question. What is your message to the world? What do you want the listeners to know and understand?
We come in here absolutely perfect as children and innocent in all ways, and we got to learn to, like what you just said, is reject the rejection and sort of be Teflon on it, and then decide in favor of yourself and say, hey, wait a second, what is my destiny? How am I going to master my self-esteem, my self-image, my self-worth, my self-love to go onward, upward, goodward, and Godward, and manifest myself in spite of the economy, in spite of the government, in spite of what my mother, father, or all those dysfunctional people said in the military or in workplace or wherever, educational institution, and overcome all that, because each one of us can ask our way out of the doldrums. And that's what we got to do now, because we're all in this other government-imposed COVID, nonsense. Forgive me for judging it, but at the level they're ODing it. I can talk to that if you want. Yeah, so the point is you can ask forward to greatness and to destiny, and that's what my message is.
I love it. I feel like, and I'm going to ask this, and I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Have you ever felt like you're either sitting at your desk or you're driving in a car, you're alone, or maybe you guys are together, but you're alone in that moment, and you're sitting there and you're like, God, I'm destined for so much more. Like there's something big that I'm destined to do, and I've always felt it. And I think I'm like, I'm going to write this book. Maybe that's it. And then maybe it's not quite it. And then I do this other thing, and I build an affirmation and empowerment clothing line last year. And so I have a T-shirt company, and then I'm going to add some other stuff. But it's an affirmation empowerment clothing line because people want affirmations. And so I was like, maybe that's it. And it didn't quite go as high. It's great. I'm like, what? That's got to be something. I've always said I should have invented the light bulb. I should have invented the car. There's something that I know in my heart that I meant to do, and maybe I haven't figured it out yet, but that's the journey that I love. And someone that I highly respect said, oh, man. So there's a guy that I absolutely love, who ended up passing away back in March of this year from COVID, and his name was Ravi Zacharias. And a quote that he said during one of his speeches said, the loneliest place is when you achieve what you think is the ultimate and it lets you down. And that's kind of where I'm at in this life. Is I've got the podcast, I've got the things. I was like, I know I'm destined for something, but I haven't quite figured it out yet.
Excellent question. So here's the answer. Is it what we say in the book, Ask God, 400 times tonight before you go to sleep, Sean, and everyone listening, say, God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? And you got to do it with feeling and belief, and live in the assumption of the wish fulfilled that you're going to wake up probably in the middle of the night. You got to tell your sweetiekins, hey, sweetiekins, I listened to Mark and Crystal today, and it sounded totally wacko, but Sean was asking him, and I think it's so different. I've never heard it, and they say it works all the time, 100% for everybody. have paper and pen next to the bed, because in the middle of the night, after you ask 400 times, God, what's your destiny for me? God's going to tell you. And if you're alive, you've got a destiny. And it's bigger, better, bolder, more exciting, more exquisite, more tantalizingly relevant than you've ever imagined. But you've got to write it out in detail. So you've got to tell your sweetiekins, hey, I'm going to have to turn on a light. I got a little pad next to the bed and a pen, or your computer or your dictating machine, whatever you want to capture it in. And I'm going to have the answer, and the answer is going to be so wonderful. And maybe you ought to do it too.
Mm-hmm. That's something I'm definitely going to start doing, and getting your book on Amazon is going to be that first step. I want to be respectful of your time, and I'm so honored to have both of you on my show. I have followed your journey ever since I got introduced to Chicken Soup for the Soul books, and I'm just so honored for this moment. And the questions, just ask better questions and you get better results. And I wish everybody to go get the book right now on Amazon. Right now, go get the book.
Thank you.
Sean,
thank you.
Wonderful being here
Thank
with
you
you.
so much again.
You're such a pro, and you're such a wonderful person, and it's an honor for us to be here with you. Thank you for doing everything you do, because it's all important. And I think, the final thing is, like, when you feel like you're not, I'm not achieving all I am, all that I can, to focus on service. I mean, the service that you're providing. And sometimes, the richness of that, I think, is really fulfilling. And, just keep asking the questions. It's a journey, and it just keeps evolving. Just never give up on it. It's exciting. Life is magical.
It is.
You keep asking.
It is. And I'm about to retire next year in hopefully around September, October. I'll be transitioning out. So, I've done 20 years in the military. I'm applying for retirement. I should be retired next fall.
Wow.
And I'm so excited for what's coming next. I'm just so ready for that next chapter, because I've built businesses while in the military, and it's kind of scary. Like, I've had that cushion. I've had that military pay coming in to kind of float me when the business wasn't doing so good this year, right? But, we still did well. But now I may not have that. So I was like, and the question is, am I good enough to be on my own? Am I good enough?
Right. And, just keep asking your way forward. I mean, what is next for me? What excites me? What am I passionate about? What am I best at? All those questions start to define that.
Yeah.
And follow that trail.
Love it.
Just
Love it.
Make it a white hot burning obsession to read our book, Ask the Bridge from Your Dreams, Your Destiny, and then ask yourself, what is my destiny to the nth degree, to the fulfillment of my soul, my heart, my mind, my finances, socially, mentally, physically, and familially.
Love it. Again, thank you both so much for your time. You've been amazing guests and just amazing human beings.
Thank you, Sean.
Our pleasure.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Life Transformation Radio listeners, amazing guests impacting the world around them. If anything has resonated with our conversation today with Mark Victor Hansen and Crystal Hansen, please connect with them at their website, markvictorhansen.com and crystalvisionlife.com. It's right there in the show notes. Click on them, put it in your browser, check it out, go to Amazon and look for the book, Ask the Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. Go get the book today. As I close the show, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live an amazing life.